Hey everybody, this is Dan Craddock. Welcome back to the Inventory Champions podcast, the podcast for Barry, as we say, the true heroes of the company, right? The heroes, the inventory heroes in retail and wholesale organizations. And if you're in that world, if you're in that space, if you're an inventory analyst, buyer, inventory investment professional, you are part of the galaxy of inventory champions. We ask you and invite you to join us, our team, because our team, we're not just software people, we're all inventory people. And the voice of inventory management is here with us, Barry Sweeney. So welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. Great to be here. Looking forward to this one.
I know.
Even though we have disaster in the title, you guys are gonna love it. You're gonna learn. You're gonna see some history here. And man, I can't wait to dive into this. So thanks for tuning back in with us.
And on some of these, you and I will sit and say, okay, on this one, I'm going to cover this, you're going to cover this, blah, blah. On this one, we didn't do that. It's going to be a bit of a free-for-all, so I just want to warn everybody about that. And
Yeah.
we're almost going to have, I forget that game where you pass along the thing and it buzzes if you don't get it right in a few seconds, but we almost need a timer because we have so many stories on each one of these financial disasters. Remember, between E3 and Blue Ridge, we've been part of over 1,000 implementations of wholesale and retail companies, and you see everything. And it's always about people. And so it comes back to decisions people make and what they do. And so we're going to hit 10 of them here. You and I just talked that all 10 of these could have easily been considered number one. They
Yeah,
could
I
each
know.
be like the number one.
I
But the one
know.
we're going to
As
start
we
with,
go through each one, we're like, yeah, that could be number one.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, this one could be one.
keep moving them.
And on down the line.
So
Yeah.
there's one that is not number one in terms of how many times it's happened, but it's number one in terms of the impact. And if you're using an advanced system
Yeah.
that's driven by a service level goal, whenever someone plays hero, decides to play hero and go in and crank that service level goal up. And Barry, when we've seen it, sometimes it's been the analyst, but most of the time it's been an executive. And most of the time that executive's not been there more than 6 months or so. They want to make a name for
Yeah.
themselves. And they go in and do it themselves, or they direct somebody to do it. And it just floods the warehouse because they don't understand
Yeah.
that the difference between 95% and 99% service is the difference between life and death of a distributor.
Oh, I know. And these decisions are, we've talked about this in the past podcast here, and gosh, throughout our career doing this, fear, panic, and really just decisions that just aren't thought through.
Yeah.
Now, fear
Um,
and panic, when you make decisions from a fear-based decision or panic-based, go ahead and expect bad results, really. And we've
yeah.
seen it
And
in this case.
we've always, like when we do our champion sessions, the roundtable ones, we'll talk about 5 different companies that experience this. And and there's more than that. But of the 5 we talk about, 3 of them recovered because they had strong financial backing. 2 of them did not recover. One of the ones that didn't recover was an old DIY place called Heckinger. There was one a couple miles from where I grew up in outside of Pittsburgh, and it was like a Home Depot, Lowe's type of place. And they actually had a good team. And the person that was the manager of the team, he was the manager, had been like a champion person, one of those sharp guys that could do everything. Remember, he called our friend Al Radford, this was back in E3 days, and he said, you're going to need to help me find my next job. Because a new leader came in and just told me to change everything to 99. I went through the math and told him what that would do. He didn't care. He said, crank it up. So it is going to likely drive us out of business. And they'll probably make me the scapegoat. And either way, I won't have a job. And that's what happened. They did it. They actually brought in a team to try to save the company financially. I think Leonard Green and Associates had come in, but it was too late. When you flood the warehouses with that type of inventory, it takes at least a year normally to get rid of it, and financially they didn't recover from it. But to watch that from the sidelines happen, you think, how could you make those decisions? And that same type of thing has happened multiple times. We're giving everybody a warning. If somebody ever says, go make this change, and you're not sure how to defend yourself and say, here's what's going to happen, please give us a call. We'll jump on a Zoom with you and them in the next 5 minutes and share these stories and tell them exactly what will occur.
Yeah, looking at the different tools that you have too. Sometimes you have a tool, maybe you've used it before, within your replenishment software system,
Yeah.
and you're not very comfortable with it. Well, we are with most, and we can help you through it. No doubt about it. And a lot of times these decisions, like I said, they're fear-based, they're panic-based, they're make a name for myself based.
Yeah.
They're not based on looking at the financials of the company. And there's a lot of software packages out there that have these simulation tools, and you can at least have them and using them properly to show here's what this impact is going to do. And even you can play with a couple different scenarios as well. So, take us up on that offer.
Those are the most valuable tools you could have. And
Yeah.
what you might want to do is do that proactive simulation, keep the table ahead of time, and even lay it out in front of the management team saying, hey, if we ever decide to make changes, here's what it would currently cost us to go from 95 to 96. And that's overall as an average, right? And as a
Yeah.
reminder from this graph that everybody and all of the leaders in your company as well, you go from an 80 to 90% service level goal increase, and the safety stock needs double. 90 to 95, they double again. 95 to about 97 and a half, they double again, and they're just shooting up exponentially. I remember I used to run everything at about 95 and then about 99.0. It'd be a 45% increase in inventory, not safety stock, but inventory at least. And you need to proactively shock people before they come to you and say, crank that service goal up. It's a great educational piece. It's almost like everybody in the company should understand this chart, not just the CFO.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. I mean, there's so many stories we've told from this chart through the years, either from the position that we're talking about today, or even just the one of the very first training sessions you'll ever get will be understanding service level goals and the impact to safety stock.
Yeah.
I love it.
So if you come across that, let us know. If we can help you halt it, we'd love to do it. And let's then stick, Barry, with the same theme in terms of maybe some bad decisions that come down upon us to the inventory team, which is why we say we need to educate upwards, raise the inventory IQ of all the leaders across the top of the company in a wholesaler and retailer.
Yeah.
They often came from sales and they have a great feel there, but they have to have a good understanding on the inventory side. This one for you and I is just a big pet peeve, and that's setting goals, that's setting KPIs and goals in today's age based on the 1960s and 70s measurements of inventory turns.
Yeah.
When I joined that E3 company back in 1986, the founder, Anders, he said, he called the word turn the dirtiest four-letter word in a wholesale retail distributor.
I
And
can
then he
hear
went
him
on to
saying that.
say, you can't write checks with turns. Okay. But more importantly, he put up a similar chart, and we have updated it and put it into a couple of categories. You can do things that are good for the company financially, buy economically, hit minimum quantities that give you discounts, buy smarter buying multiples or convenience packs. You could do things operationally to help you. You can buy forward on deals. You can speculate. You can hit rebates. You can hit freight
Yeah.
breaks. All these things that impact the income statement positively, and all of these will reduce your turns.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing.
It is. And for those of you who are listening in the car, we'll have a PDF that you can download um, and the safety stock graph we were talking about a minute ago, man, you definitely want to
Mhm.
understand that one. But this is a great picture here because on the left side we have these operational limitations, on the right side these profit opportunities, and Dan's right. It's really working the plan. It is understanding your inventory portfolio and then fixing buying multiples or setting proper service level goals or minimum quantities and lead time, which we'll talk about in a moment. But doing those things along with making sure that you're taking advantage of investment buys and all these different things you can do that hit the bottom line. Generally, that equates to better turns. But the goal is not, hey, let's just have some kind of catchy theme that's going to help us increase our turns. Let's go 8 for 8 in 2008, guys. I think we can do it. And you're sitting at 4 turns. Well, that's silly. That's unrealistic. It lacks imagination, and it is it's a disaster waiting to happen.
And it's so true, and it's uneducated because they didn't say 8.35 for 8, meaning hey, we've analyzed it and we think we can do 8.35. When somebody throws a round number out there, they're just shooting at an empty target. There's no scientific analysis behind it of what's even possible. Um, and especially with today's tools, like if someone were to say that to us, we could pull their system up and say, okay, to do that, to hit 8 turns, you're going to need to eliminate every item that moves less than one per month because that category is killing you in turns. It's actually a very profitable category. Your margins are the best there, but doesn't help your turns, so we're going to get rid of that. Oh, by the way, these long lead time items, these imports, you're making a killing on those financially, but those cause a lot of safety stock. We have to get rid of those also. So we're going to dwindle down our item mix to hit your 8 turns, and they'll be the least profitable items in the business. That's the type of thought process that has to go into it. And turns is a end result. It's not the goal. It's
Yeah.
the end
Yeah,
result.
that's a good way to say it.
Imagine if you said, "Hey, did you get that call from that supplier? He's offering a 10% discount, buy by the end of the week." I said, "Yes, I analyzed it. It's a great deal. But my only KPI is turns, and I get bonused on turns, so I didn't buy on that deal." I know that helps you,
Yeah.
business owner of the company, but you didn't set me up that way. You told me to hit
Right.
this many turns, so I'm not going to make that buy. That's how silly it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. End result. I love the way you said that. It's true.
You're going to increase turns if you buy smart on an advanced system on your replenishment items. It will overall, you're going to increase turns. You're not going to maximize them because some of these things are still going to come into play. Um, and it kind of ties back to, I would hear that first year, I would hear people say to Anders, "Hey, I'm the president of the company, but how should I set KPIs for my buyers, for my inventory analysts?" And he would ask them, "What's your report card?" I said, "Well, the income statement's my report card." He said, "Well, that should be their report card."
Yeah.
And you would see their face go, "Wow, wow, I guess so." When you start to think of that all as an investment, changes everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially if you hire well, which leads us to number 3. You and
Yeah.
I
By
get
the
to
way,
go into
this
a
was,
lot of
by the way,
places.
when we did this podcast on these different personality styles, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, and if you've missed it, go back and watch it. The Tale of
Oh,
Three
yeah.
Buyers is the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Most important thing you do in a company is hiring. We've all known that and agree with that. And we get to go out. We've both gone out to hundreds of distributors over the years, and it's great. You walk in and you get a feel for the place very quickly. And when you walk into the inventory team, you get a feel for the importance that the management team puts on that area. Are they supporting them? Are they helping them build their self-esteem and stand up proudly for the amazing work they do? Or are they a punching bag, you know? And boy, if you keep that role a punching bag, it's hard to recruit the best people. We see companies, and in sales, they will hire ahead of the need. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
They hire ahead of the need. They'll have somebody in the hopper on the on deck circle because they want to have somebody ready. That's how important they think the position is. But then you come to the inventory area, you lose an analyst, you lose a buyer, and a group that's already working, 50 plus hours a week, you ask them all to take on more lines until you bring somebody in new. And that's where the panic hiring happens because you already feel guilty. You've overloaded them. They're just looking at you saying, well, have you found anyone? Have you found anyone? And you're hoping the next body that walks in for the interview is at least close enough.
Yeah, close enough. Just get us there.
Just
And,
need somebody
and
there.
and you're in this position because you're right. At the bottom it says the position is a career destination. And the question for everyone out there is, are you making the position a career destination? Because if you are, then you're doing all these different things. First and foremost, hiring ahead of the need, and then being very creative and very smart on the people that you do bring in. And then you're managing those people well, you're motivating them, you're equipping them to on a career path, you're giving them the growth that they need. It's a whole nother podcast. Yeah, really.
It is for sure. And boy, when you find the right person, you know it. And by the way, that
Yeah.
right person might be in another department, in the wrong department that belongs here. And you say, well, I can't afford to hire ahead of the need. Well, what about an intern? What about somebody a year away from graduating? You might find that next person there. We've seen people
Yeah.
do great things with interns.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to think of these really unexpected areas. Like we talk about, if you're a leader of the team, you have to make unexpected connections in your organization.
Yeah.
You have to make unexpected moves when you're hiring for the position. Don't always fall into the trap of, oh, we have to have somebody with experience. We have to have somebody with, who understands our industry and those things. Well, sometimes those things come into play and you have to do that, but think outside of just that normal path of hiring.
So true. Hire talent over experience.
Yeah,
It'll be harder
that's
for
it.
about 3 weeks, and then you'll go, wow, thank goodness we did that. We did that.
Yeah.
Talent. Um, okay, now we're going to move into really one of the components. And, you and I have for decades really talked about the lead time component being the sleeper component. It can really kind
Yeah.
of get you, but it can get you in a couple of ways. And when you think of some of the main components, your safety stock, your lead time, your order cycle, um, that lead time, first of all, is too often hidden. If you're not seeing it visually, like we're showing you right here, there's no way you can manage it right. And what
Yeah.
do we mean by lying about the lead time? Well, it doesn't mean you're going in trying to do something sneaky. It's just the truth is not there. So let's describe the
Yeah.
both scenarios where you can hurt yourself. And this picture is a real picture from an industry, and it's not one supplier like you'll normally see. There's actually all the suppliers, and especially with the pandemic and all the wacky things that happened, you know, um, this company said, I need to see it visually because we're right here. And I feel like my team doesn't realize that the lead times are no longer in the 40s, 40 days range. They're back down into the 20s and headed back to normal, which is the low 20s. And especially if you're in a long lead time industry, which this one is, if you're in a long lead time industry and you're buying with lead times inflated by 15 days, two bad things happen. You're buying too early. That's going to be excess inventory. And Barry, what do we say? The fact is, for every 2 or 3 days of extra lead time, that triggers another day of safety stock. Just mathematically, it triggers another day of safety stock. So it hurts you in two ways there with that lie of
Yeah.
the inflate of an buying with a cushioned or inflated lead time. We're not talking a day or two. That's an allowable, understandable cushion, but we're talking
Yeah.
that worst case scenario type of thing.
Yeah. And especially when you have longer lead times. You get 45 days and above, then that becomes your number one contributor to safety stock.
So true.
So, then it's just this terrible cycle that you get into, and it costs you a ton of money. We've always said when you're looking at numbers, yeah, you're looking at the numbers, whether it's days of inventory or lead time days, but what does that really equate to? What does it equate to in terms of hitting the income statement, hitting the bottom line? And when you look at it like that, then you realize, wow, these 2 days, if you know your 1 day of inventory, that's going to be for us $18 million.
Yeah.
Now you look at it like that versus, oh, it's 2 days or 3 days. Oh, it's just 2 days, Dan. Oh, well, actually, Barry, that's 36, it's $36 million. Oh, okay.
And
Now
when
you
we
got
get
my
a
attention.
call, people don't say, "Hey, my lead time, I think my lead time's inflated." They'll just say, "Our inventory just shot up.
I know.
We can't figure out why." We'll say, "Well, we can because we're looking at your data in
Yeah.
pictures." And again, if you need help turning this 21 into a picture like this, we can help. Uh, we've always seen on demand forecasting, people always see it visually, and they are fine with the forecast cutting through the middle, knowing there's going to be higher demand and lower demand. But on lead time, for some
Yeah.
reason, people still want to put in a worst case scenario. Oh, my lead time can be between 14 and 21 days. So 21's my number. No, it's not.
21's it. Yeah. 21's the number.
So if you
Let's
sell
lock it
between
in there.
100 and 200, is 200 your forecast? No, it's 150 with a deviation. Well, this has
Yeah.
deviation also, helping you.
Yeah. You're so right. Being able to see a picture of lead time, it helps you to throw out that old thought process of going with the highest number.
Yeah.
Because when you're just looking at the number, this week it changed. Okay, well, what was it last week? You have this, this very myopic view of things.
Yes. That
When you
tunnel
have
vision.
this
Terrible.
nice view, right? When you have this nice view, it helps you avoid making these rushed, fearful, panic decisions.
And we have to say, we are guilty of saying the errors are normally on the high side, and they normally are, but we have seen we have seen people say, "Oh, I've learned that if I lower that lead time, the inventory drops, and I could sure use some cash. I could sure use some lower inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it a couple of days." Lying on the underside is
Yeah.
worse. You're now putting your team in this burden where they can't hit service, they can't hit their goals, and then they're
Oh
getting
yeah.
yelled at by sales and everybody. And sometime we'll show again that depletion graph picture with the line down that certain spot. Everything to the right, which is safety stock and lead time, those impact when you buy. This order cycle and parts of it, like the buying multiple, that impacts how much you buy. Don't play games with the when you buy, or you will hurt.
Oh gosh. Yeah, you said it a minute ago. I mean, who wants to have sales, people calling us? Oh my gosh, that sounds terrible. I would do everything not to have that call.
Sales kicking sand in our face.
Yeah.
Okay, we are often asked, but not asked often enough. What are the keys to success in in an inventory operation, especially when they put a new system in or an advanced system in, and they think just the system itself and the math is going to cure everything, and that's not the case. Yeah, you've got to have a solid tool and a solid process. You need
Yeah.
the process, most important. You need the tool that follows the process, but before that always comes the people side. And so here's what we've learned in this 1,000 times. Boy, have we learned it. Two things. a management team that's all in and supportive, president, CFO, and then somebody that you label that inventory champion, that empowered champion. Doesn't have to
Yeah.
be the head of inventory, the VP of inventory. Could be one of the analysts that just is savvy. They're really good and they're a good coach. Somebody that says, I'll be your point guard on this, I'll be the quarterback.
Yeah.
All in management and a quarterback, great things are going to happen.
Oh, so true. Throw in there, I own it. Give it
Yeah.
to me, I own it. Somebody who has those skills, who may, like you said, Dan, they may not be and often it's not the leader of the department or somebody you picture as, who has a titled leader. No, it's not. Oftentimes it's not. It's somebody who understands the application, who understands how to get things done, who has a passion for this, obviously.
Yeah.
It's kind of that unexpected find oftentimes, but that's on the champion side. On the management side, when you have management that's all in, you know what they have, guys? They have a reason that they made the decision. They have a reason and they understand the decision that was made of why they bought the software application. They know why they bought it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that, then that reason trickles down to the champion. It goes throughout the company. Here's why we bought this. Now, oftentimes companies don't remember why they bought the software.
Yeah.
2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, why did we buy this? What was the reasoning behind? You should never lose sight of why you bought the software in the first place, because that will be really your guiding light throughout the life of the application and building your team and growing your team and doing all the great things that you can do.
You know, people have heard us over the years talk about different companies. We're big fans of many companies. That one name was Henry Schein, and people know we talk about the legacy of the Henry Schein team. So on the all-in management side, you had Paul Rose, who would make sure all the other leaders of the company understood inventory management, were bought in. And I remember when
Yeah.
he called and said, "Hey, you're talking that the champion's such a key role. I think I might have the right person." Um, young buyer, and he started to describe him. He said, "Super sharp, doing great on the system. Everybody comes to him for guidance on the system, even all the ones that are 10 years more seasoned, been around longer. Everybody's coming to him. He's great with them. He guides them. We're seeing great numbers because of it." I'm like, "Well, what's the question? Why?" There's no question then. He is the one. And that Chris Longito was the name. He's since gone on to be,
Yeah.
to be the all-in management person. But
Yeah. Chris was
maybe the
great.
best champion ever, although there are others, the Todd Bells of the world and others that are right there too. But you talk about, all we had to do is lean back and then watch them just go. And
Go.
we would feed ideas and so forth, and they would just
Yeah.
say, "Got it." Boom, they would go. That's what you want.
Yeah, yeah, no, and then just a quick thought on that, and they would present it, at our annual conference, and they
Mm,
would connect with the other customers, and customers would see them and say, "Wow, man, you guys are doing a great job, and you are really good, and how can we get one of those?" And I'm in that position, and how can I be like you, Chris? It really just catches fire in the
yeah.
in the community.
And we often say, look, if you have one and not the other, no problem. Use the one to get the other,
Yeah,
and we'll help you. And the best thing Chris did is he recognized other great leaders to pull in, like the Bob Lindsays, and then Kate and Leah, who stood in front of a management crowd at a session here in Atlanta and just wowed the crowd and inspired all of them to go find champions. That's what
yeah,
that's what happened there. So if you don't have both of these happening, forget about all these other things we're talking about and get this stuff first.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we're gonna head down the stretch. As you and I were concerned, we could talk forever about this
I
stuff.
know, I know.
Hey, we're going to commit to doing a session on seasonality, right? Um,
Yeah.
some years back, though, a famous week, we sent out a survey to our community and said, hey, on Friday, we want to publish a surprising list of seasonal items because we normally find that people can be shocked. They'll find 3 times more seasonality in their items than they thought. And some thought they didn't have
Yeah.
any. So we said, send
Yeah.
us your surprisingly seasonal items. We were blown away with the replies, and we put a list together. We've updated a little over time. We'll update it again. And let me see if I have. No, we have a document with this. If you want it, let us know. We'll get it to you.
Oh yeah. It's a good one.
Here's some of the surprises, but what's the main point? The biggest disaster is so many companies will still say we don't have seasonality. And so we're just
Yeah.
not going to put seasonal forecasts within our forecasting.
Yeah.
It's
No, you
never,
have it. It's there. And I remember the one comment we had one year. Um, yeah, we don't have seasonal items, Barry. We have cyclical items. Oh, okay.
yeah.
So you do have seasonal items.
If an item goes up 10% in a heavy season and then back to normal and then down 10%, you'd say, well, I've actually been fine without having a seasonal forecast or seasonal profile, as some will call it. You can be fine. You can still hit service levels, but you do it so much more efficiently with
Right.
that seasonal forecast that your inventory would be lower all year long. So why not do it? Why not have it? And this, Barry, this is an area talking about the champion role. Often
Yeah.
it's one person that just becomes great at seasonal forecasting. Let them be the champion of that area, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. When you find somebody like that, one thing they will not do is deny that there's seasonality, that
Yeah.
you will not see that word will not exist in their vocabulary.
No, and
They will find
let
it.
them
Yeah.
work with you, work with the other team members. They maybe have some tools
Yeah.
they've put together. In the analytics, we can help you certainly with with some of that. So an
Yeah.
area we'll focus on again in the future. Number 7 and 8 are similar. The message here is if you're getting sand kicked in your face by a sales team, a product team, merchandising team, you've got to stand up and show that you know where the inventory sits. And there are areas of the inventory, we're just going to hit 2 of them that could be inflating things. And one is, and this is even more true if you have branches or stores. If you're in a hard goods environment, you probably have a lot of branches or stores. And if somebody kind of pushes their way and says, hey, look, I don't have confidence in your system. I want to put manual minimums. I want to put my own order points called manual minimums on just a few items. And then another few items and another few items. We've seen this happen, and a few years later, 30% of the items are not being bought by the system you're paying a bunch of money for. They're being replenished not even by the person you're paying to be great at this. They're being replenished by somebody in sales, might not even be with the company anymore, who got frustrated one day and forced a manual minimum in. And in this
Yeah.
case, this is a real company. 8% of the inventory was inflated by these manual minimums. That's 8% above what normal replenishment would have done. That's the cost involved in this one. How often have you seen that?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's everywhere. And the the criminal part of this is, like you said, someone who may have set the minimum may not even be with the company anymore. Someone who told you to set the minimum may not be with the company any longer, and you don't have a method. You haven't found a way properly yet to go back and look at these minimums and understand, do they really make sense now? Should they be lower? Should they be reduced? Or not reduced? Should they be eliminated?
Yeah.
Or should we, maybe the item didn't need to be stocked anymore? Or maybe the item is taken off and now we really need to manage it better. Maybe it needs a seasonal profile. There's all these different things. There's no process to go back in and look at these things. So there's tons of money and inventory that you can go out and collect very easily just by putting a process in place. But it's going back and doing that. And this picture, which I love, what it's telling us here? It's really saying, look, you have this inventory and it lives in all these different places. Well, as analysts, you know what? We feel responsible for all of that. We think it's all on us, but you know what? It's not. There's the product management, there's operations, store manager, sales. It's everyone owns it. We just have a better impact and the ability to help move things and facilitate how we can manage it better.
And I'm going to throw a thought out there, and it's going to be contradictory to what we often do because we are the best friends of the inventory team. We came from there. We're both former buyers, if you will. But to the executives out there, the CFO, just walk into the area. Next time you're in a meeting with the team, just say, hey, of our 10,000 SKUs, how many have manual minimums on them right now? First of all, they should know the number. And if not, that should be a sign of a concern. And it should be a call to action to go find out what that SKU count is and what it's doing to the inventory. And it could cause a really strong movement, forward. And
Yeah,
while you're there,
that's it.
why
Yeah,
not get some of these others? And we'll just hit one other.
sure.
And it's again because often the people side of it come in. Everybody has back orders,
Yeah.
food, medical, hard goods. Everybody has back orders for a short time, right? Before the order actually ships. So your normal stock status should be on hand plus on order minus back order or customer held, customer reserve. And that's what we want to talk about. The customer held, customer reserve for the future. Oh yeah, it's coming down the line. Well, again, often once a sales team understands their ERP system, they have this ability to kind of hide inventory. Is that happening? We don't want to claim that it is, but you ought to be aware and go look for it. What percent of the inventory, and actually I can't even say that because it doesn't mean the inventory is in yet. Of your customer reserve, what percentage is that number of your total inventory? Because in this company's case, this is a real case study. In addition to the 50 million, there was another 15% in reserve, some of which had been just purchased, some had maybe arrived already. But as they looked at it, they worked it, and it was a bunch of stuff that were not real orders, and they got that number quickly down to 7%. That's millions
Yeah,
of dollars.
it is. It's a very expensive game of hide and seek. And we have seen some really interesting strategies, especially when you have a multi-location environment where you have a store or a branch manager and then the salesperson, and then they realize, hey, you know what? Instead of us putting a minimum on, which they'll really get onto us about, let's hide the inventory here in this reserve. And it is an expensive game. We've always said, tell the truth in the components, the forecast, the lead time, the order cycle, the service level, buying multiple. When you tell those components, the truth in the components, then everything's gonna be so much better. But
Yeah.
when you start playing games and you play your old game, Dan, the whack-a-mole, you can't when you start telling one lie here and one lie here, you can't keep up with it. You can't follow the trail of lies that it leads to.
So Barry, if you recall, with this company, the first thing we did was we said, well, there's no way that it's 15%, because this was a hard goods environment. There's no way that it's 15% for every branch. And sure enough, you put that graphic up,
Yeah.
and some have 5% and some have 30.
Yeah.
And then you say, well, let's do it by salesperson. Let's do it by sales taker. And all of a sudden it's nothing, nothing, nothing. Whoo,
Yeah.
these five,
Yeah.
they're the
Yep.
ones.
They're the ones. They've got their own little replenishment system they built with reserves.
That's right. Okay, so here's a summary of these two before we go to the final two. The summary is this. The income statement is the report card, and it's the goal of all of us, really. So the first story we want to tell is You get in there with good people, a good system, good process, your revenue should go up because they'll crank your service level up. You'll be in stock more. But also, your inventory operating costs will come down because they'll be able to operate maybe 30% less inventory just because they're buying smarter.
Right.
But with some of those savings, they'll buy more aggressively on deal buys. And that's the big one because that attacks the cost of goods. You lower that cost of goods, that profit goes up. And that's not even why we're telling this story. Our point here is sales comes in, we want them to push revenue. That's their job. And they should fight to be in stock 100% of the time on every item. That's, we're wanting them to have that mindset. But for us on the inventory team, we've got to be the mature adult that says, no, we're going to help you drive revenue, but not at the expense of these others. We have to help make sure the inventory operating is as efficient as possible. We're going to attack the cost of goods. We have to hit the whole income statement, and you don't over here. So don't have this team do your buying. Moral
Yeah,
of the story.
absolutely. I love that picture there. I mean, it just tells the story of your report card is the income statement. Understand everything about the income statement. There's another podcast we did on that, by the way. And oh my gosh, just understand the income
Yeah.
statement. Think financially.
When you learn about income statements, then you get curious. You walk into a restaurant, maybe a fast food place, and you're like, I wonder what theirs looks like. And you can Google it and realize, wow, it's
Yeah,
thin
I know you
margin.
do. It is funny how that works. So you get curious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good word.
The final two, Barry, of the 100 that we could do, and one kind of relates to one of our favorite topics of new items. And as you and I talk, we always got away with performing poorly on new items because we could just go, new, not my fault. And that was allowed. People go, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we would
I know.
say
I
that,
took advantage of that.
no,
I did.
Mr. Friendly took
I'm
it
guilty. Guilty.
on one sense, and we'll do a separate podcast on this. If you just have the mindset that you're going to spend 3 times as much time on new items than non-new items, hopefully you've saved a bunch of time if you're using an advanced system. With that mindset, already you're going to perform a lot better. And what we really want to do is do away with this. We've seen so many inventory professionals just turn to their supplier and say, well, tell me what the initial forecast ought to be. Tell me what my initial purchase ought to be. Well, they're going to do it in their favor. So letting the suppliers influence those things is one of the expensive things that we have seen. What you're wanting to ask is there a similar item it's going to sell like, especially for seasonality? Yeah. Is it going to replace one or more items? Get on that path and then put in a realistic, maybe even somewhat conservative forecast, or at least one that you're going to watch and baby for a long time, right?
Yeah, that's it. Have a good plan in place for when you bring it on board, but also, and this is where many fall down, is not having a process in place to loop around and say, how are we doing? Are there certain locations we're selling it, certain places we're not? And then, understanding why we're not. We're not doing a good job there. We're not doing, what are we doing where we are selling it and then replicate that in the other spots? Or maybe it's not selling at all. Just make sure you go back and look and understand whether it's selling or not and have a process in place for that.
Just watch it closely. You got to baby them. That's it. Bear, we've got this final one. We've hit it in some of the other podcasts, and I want to preface it and say, of all the departments in the company, the operations team, the DC team, normally becomes our closest ally.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it happens day one. They're also often the first one that says, hey, this new, if you put a new system in, this new system, it's doing something different, and different doesn't sound good to us. Which makes you realize you needed to pull them in the loop and educate them that there will be some differences. And those differences are good. They're good financially. And that you want their help. You want their help on understanding the proper different buying multiples. What is a layer? What is a pallet on this item? because even if I occasionally get close, I can shoot for that pallet automatically. Once they know that stuff, you'll be in unison. But if there's initially some intimidation,
Yeah.
someone says, look, when you buy this stuff, just buy it in pallets, just buy it in full packages. Well, that's where we have to watch that average buying multiple days. Here we have this company that when they buy, they're buying an average of 20 days supply. That's across all the items. That's pretty good. It could even be a little bit higher and they'd be okay. Um, but when we do that, if it finds that it's rounding, and if it's an average of 14 days, some of them are in there at 21 days, 28 days. We're not talking the slow movers where one unit is 28 days. If it's impacting some of the medium and fast movers, and we're just trying to make some people happy and overshoot, it's like every time you go to the grocery store, instead of buying what you need, I'll just top off all my items. I've only had a little bit of that gallon of milk. I'll just get another gallon of milk so I don't have to come here for a while. No, it's too expensive. We have seen through the analytics for the first time when this is happening. And more importantly, we've seen companies go on a great attack plan to put the smartest buying multiples possible in. And the inventory balances, it starts to live around here when we buy. And the inventory drops significantly.
Yeah.
20%
Yeah.
inventory reduction, right, Barry? We've seen when people just say, we're going to get smart about this.
I know that is it, Dan. Who would have thought that being strategic about buying multiples could be such a huge cost savings opportunity? Because mostly the focus is on forecasts and service level and lead times, as it should be as well.
Yeah.
But this is a huge area, often mismanaged. I mean, often mismanaged. Talk about fear and and no strategy when setting buying multiples. We've seen that through the years, and it throws everything off. And the recovery time is terrible, and you invest a ton of money,
Yeah.
and it takes a while to dig out. But if you're strategic about it and you're working ahead of time and understanding this picture that you're seeing right in front of you, that can really help you get on top of your multiples for sure.
And if you're using an advanced system, and you say, yeah, but that pallet level. Well, maybe you have that pallet level as the fixed in rounding multiple, buying multiple. Move it simply to your whatever you call your convenience pack level, so that if you're close enough to that, yeah, sure, go
Yeah,
ahead and make the jump.
right.
Let the automation work for you. How close? Well, you can
Absolutely.
control that. What if I'm 80% of the way there? What if I'm 85% of the way? Then make the jump. You've
Right.
got sophistication. Most of you have sophistication in your stuff. Um,
Mhm.
so go with the smart one as the main, and go with the higher one as your convenience jump point
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The benefits are incredible. Um, and again, this could be a project, and then after it's a project, make it an ongoing thing. And the analytics will show you the picture. The analytics can also help you set those. And that number can change. What is the smartest buying multiple? Might be different next month because I'm into
Yes.
season. And so,
Right.
and there you can somewhat kind of automate that to make sure that adjusts. A lot of cool things. The only thing that's not cool is just putting the biggest number in because it makes everybody's life easier.
No, not cool.
Yeah, it's your pocketbook. It's your pocketbook.
Yeah.
Um, so wow, we've hit 10 of the 100, and there's so many. Hopefully, some of those triggered something in you. If they did trigger something, and you want us to get a document to you, let us know. We'll do so. And Barry, I guess we should say, we started with the disasters. The counter episode coming up is going to be the victories,
Yeah,
and so we'll
that's
share
right.
some of the victories, as
Yeah,
well. And
sure
we'll
will.
shout out some people.
Yeah. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. See you next time. Thanks for tuning in. Inventory champions all the way.